Something big just happened, and honestly, it's not getting the attention it deserves yet. Because Cleetus McFarland just made a move that could completely change how people look at him in NASCAR. At first, it sounds simple. Okay, he's doing another race. But when you actually look deeper into what's going on here, the story is very different. Because this isn't just another race. This is a second chance after a quiet rejection. Yeah, you heard that right. There was a moment where things didn't go his way, where NASCAR basically said, "Not yet," and instead of backing off, he adjusted, stayed in the game. And now he's coming back again, smarter, more prepared, and with something to prove. So what really happened behind the scenes? Why was he turned down? And why this next race might be the most important one of his career so far? Make sure you watch this video till the end, because once you hear the full story behind this, your entire perspective is going to change. If you enjoy real NASCAR stories, behind-the-scenes breakdowns, and updates you won't hear everywhere else, make sure you subscribe to NASCAR Nation News and turn on notifications. We're also trying to hit our 1,000 subscribers, so your support genuinely helps the channel grow. Now let's get into the full story. So here's what's officially confirmed. Cleetus McFarland is returning for another NASCAR start. And this time, it's happening at Nashville Superspeedway. This will be his second race in the series, and on paper, it might not sound like a huge deal. But the context behind it, that's where things get interesting. Because originally, this was not the plan. Cleetus actually wanted to race at a much bigger, faster, and more intense track, Talladega. And if you know NASCAR, you already understand what that means. Talladega isn't just another racetrack. It's one of the most unpredictable, high-speed, high-risk tracks on the entire schedule. Even experienced drivers struggle there. So for someone still early in their NASCAR journey, this was a bold move, maybe a little too bold, because when that request went through, it didn't get approved. No big announcement, no drama, just a quiet not yet, and that moment right there could have gone two different ways. He could have taken it as a setback, he could have slowed down, but instead, he adjusted. And that's what makes this story different. Rather than forcing his way into a race he wasn't ready for, Cleetus shifted focus to Nashville, a track that still challenges drivers, but in a way that allows growth, learning, and improvement. And that tells you something important. This isn't just a content creator showing up for fun anymore. This is someone who's starting to understand the system, respect the process, and build his way up properly. Now let's talk about why this second race actually matters so much. Because his first race wasn't perfect. There were moments where you could clearly see the inexperience, some struggles, some learning curves, but at the same time, he finished. And that matters more than people think. Finishing your first race in a new series is always a big step. It means you handled the pressure, you stayed focused, you didn't make a race-ending mistake. And most importantly, you gained real experience. Experience that you just can't get from practice or simulation alone. And speaking of simulation, this is where things get even more interesting. Because Cleetus isn't just showing up again and hoping for a better result. He's actually putting in the work behind the scenes. More simulator time, more preparation, more understanding of how these cars behave. And that's a big deal. Because the jump from casual racing to NASCAR-level competition is not easy. It's one thing to drive fast. It's another thing to manage tires, strategy, positioning, and race awareness all at once. And that's exactly what he's working on now. But here's the real question. Will it actually show? Because this next race at Nashville is where people are going to start judging him differently. The first race? That was curiosity. People wanted to see what would happen. But the second race? That's where expectations begin. Now fans are watching more closely. Now they're comparing. Now they're asking, did he improve? And that pressure is very real. Another thing you have to consider is the team behind him. He's not doing this alone. He's working with a serious NASCAR organization, which means the equipment is there, the support is there. Now it comes down to execution. Can he take everything he learned from the first race and actually apply it when it matters? Because in NASCAR, progress isn't just about finishing. It's about getting better every time you're on track. And this is where the bigger picture comes in. Because this isn't just about one race. This is about what comes next. If he shows real improvement at Nashville, if he looks more comfortable, more confident, then suddenly, more opportunities start to open up. More races, bigger tracks, more trust from the people around him. But if things don't go well, if the same mistakes happen again, if there's no clear progress, then the conversation changes. And that's the reality of motorsports. It moves fast, and expectations rise even faster. So when you look at this upcoming race, it's not just another entry on the schedule. It's a test, a real test of whether Cleetus McFarland is just experimenting with NASCAR or actually building something long-term. And honestly, that's what makes this story so interesting, because you don't usually see this kind of journey. Someone coming from outside the traditional path, learning in real time, and slowly stepping into a world that demands so much precision. And there's one more thing people aren't really talking about yet. Confidence. Because in racing, confidence changes everything. In your first race, you're thinking too much. You're careful. You're reacting more than attacking. But in your second race, that mindset starts to shift. You begin to trust the car more. You understand the pace better. And most importantly, you start making decisions faster. And that's exactly where the biggest improvement usually comes from. So if Cleetus has truly learned from that first experience, we might see a completely different version of him at Nashville. Not perfect, but sharper, more aggressive when it matters, and more in control of the race overall. And if that happens, then suddenly, this stops being a let's see what happens story and starts becoming a serious NASCAR journey that people can't ignore anymore. Now everything comes down to Nashville. New track, second chance, higher expectations. And one big question, can he prove that he belongs here? Because if he can, then this isn't just a one-off story anymore. This becomes the beginning of something much bigger. Let me know what you think in the comments. Do you think Cleetus will improve in his second race? Or is this going to be tougher than people expect? And if you want more real NASCAR stories like this, make sure you subscribe to NASCAR Nation News, because we're just getting started.